Awesome. So welcome to the second Aggie Enterprise Town Hall. Glad you could be here today. My name is Erica Eichwalder. I am the manager of the Office of Business Transformation, and I support change management, communication, and training for Aggie Enterprise. I'm also going to serve as today's town hall facilitator, and then we want to provide you as much information as possible, so we do have a full agenda. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. The meeting is recorded, as you saw. We're expecting, 535, I think, were the last registration numbers. If everyone shows up, that's fantastic, but you are all muted, and I hope that you can stay that way so that we can focus on our speakers. As you have questions in chat, please, feel free to add your questions to chat. We do have CCT team members, project team members here to help moderate chat, answer your questions, drop in some links that we think may be helpful. Let's see, we've got, again, a great number of speakers lined up. We are at almost 400 participants today, and so that is fantastic. I want to ask, I'll dive into the agenda really quick for those of us. Let's see. Participants are joining. I gave that till 1:05, did start a minute early, but that's fantastic. We'll do a quick welcome. I will provide, again, some housekeeping, review the agenda, talk about kind of what you can expect today. We do have Vice Chancellor Claire Shinnerell joining us to offer some opening remarks in that executive sponsor message. And then we'll hear from our Assistant Vice Chancellor, Matt Okamoto. He's also the Aggie Enterprise Governance Co-Chair, provide some more details about what's going on in the project. And then we hope to answer some of the questions that you submitted when you registered. We know that you've got questions, and we hope to use some of our town hall time to provide you those answers. And then largely, we really want to focus on what you can all expect in 2023 in regards to Aggie Enterprise, how you will be engaged, what that will look like. We know that training is a hot topic. I want to ensure that we provide you the information that you need. And then we'll also cover resources, next steps, what you can do, how you can help to prepare for Aggie Enterprise. So, what is Aggie Enterprise? First and foremost, Aggie Enterprise is a business transformation initiative, really focused on how can we think about how we currently do business and what are our opportunities to make some changes, to pivot in this space. What can we do? Really thinking about how can we change our business processes. We've done things, we have effectively led business for so long, becoming one of those top institutions, but there's always opportunities to improve. There's always opportunities to think about how we can do things a little bit better. That's the principle for Aggie Enterprise, really that business transformation initiative. Additionally, it is the name of the system, and I know that there can be some confusion in that space. Aggie Enterprise is the name of our new financial system. Its foundation is in Oracle, but we have branded that Oracle Cloud Financials to be Aggie Enterprise. And so you'll hear those used kind of interchangeably, both the transformation initiative and the system. And with that, wanting to keep my remarks short, I do want to introduce our executive sponsor, Vice Chancellor of Finance, Operations, and Administration, Claire Shinnerell, who will offer some of her opening remarks. So welcome, Claire. I will stop sharing and turn it over to you.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm just going to also get some slides up here for you. Just takes a second. How's everybody doing on this afternoon? I just want to say thanks for including me on your agenda. Aggie Enterprise, its successful launch as well as its successful use is one of UC Davis's top administrative priorities. And I just want to thank all of you for your individual contributions to this enormous collective effort. And I thought, sometimes when these projects get so enormous, they take years, they're the behind the scenes thing, they're not very glamorous. We sometimes forget what this is all about and the purpose and, why we're doing this. So I thought, if you're okay with this, I'm going to take you off campus to an example that's all over the news right now of an organization that didn't give a rip about its back and behind the scenes computer systems, and they're paying dearly for it. I know this is a bit of a stretch. It's a different industry, but just have a little fun because I think it's a classic example. And many of you have probably already figured out I'm talking about Southwest Airlines. So this picture behind me is from 1972. You can tell because of that retro color. Boy, is that not very pretty. But anyway, they took the airline industry by storm. They made enormous positive contributions. They figured out how to operate a low-cost carrier and offer low-cost fares. And they, to this date, we can thank Southwest for those low costs because they really forced the industry to think differently. They also were one of the very first airlines in the world to have an online booking system for their customers. Many of you know they have a really cute marketing campaign that's surrounded by the word love, L-U-V. So they really felt a way to get people engaged in their airline, to cater to everybody, not just upper class. And they were enormously profitable. The chart I have behind me is only from 2010, but you should know that they were profitable every single year since they started, except for during COVID, which is, of course, excusable. So that's the bar behind me that's in the negative. So what happened? Now, if any of you were traveling over the holidays, put in the chat how you felt. I was one of the customers who got stranded, but this screen behind me is what it looked like across the country at almost every airport. Southwest had to cancel on some days upwards of 96% of their flights, and over about 6 to 8 days, over 80%. Luggage went in one direction, crew went in a different direction, and passengers were stranded, sleeping on floors, missing their holidays with their families, maybe renting a car, driving incredible distances. So at first, Southwest said, hey, not our fault. It's the weather. But here's a quote from a journalist who really nailed it. He said, "As soon as I heard how much worse Southwest Airlines was performing than its competitors, I knew there had to be an IT problem." And that proved to be true. And so it's all over the news. Here are a couple of quotes. NPR, Southwest Airlines still using computer systems from the 1990s. Again, NPR, Southwest Airlines using processes from when the airline was a tenth of its size. Southwest Airlines never viewed investing in critical and unglamorous operational technology as a strategic priority. NASDAQ, employee unions say they warned Southwest Airlines for years that its technological systems badly needed upgrading. So now what? So now they have to do a rapid fire IT investment. And when you do rapid fire, you pay dearly for it. Everybody who knows anything about how to help them with their infrastructure is going to be paid a premium to help, and it's going to cost the airline about $1 billion. Now they also have to reimburse all those stranded travelers, and it looks like that's about $825 million. They just finalized an agreement with their pilots for a bonus during the meltdown, which is going to cost them $45 million. Now they have other employee bonuses to contend to with flight attendants and gate agents. They don't have a number yet. And maybe the biggest cost is a class action lawsuit from their shareholders who say, wait a minute, you did not tell us that your computer systems were old, and we lost billions of dollars over 6 days. They don't have an amount yet. So tomorrow, Southwest Airlines is going to report their quarterly financial results. That's the 26th, so keep an eye out on that. I can pretty much guarantee you that for the last calendar year, they're likely to show their very first profit loss in their history. Yep. Other than that COVID drop that I showed you a few seconds ago. By the way, if you want to follow them on the stock exchange, you're going to look for LUV. That's their code name. So look for that, not SWA. So what are some of the other consequences that are really hard to measure, like loss of loyal customers, loss of trust? Oh, here's a big one, Buttigieg and the DOT. and Congress breathing down their back. Can you imagine trying to implement a computer system with these stakeholders just breathing down your back? It's like auditors on steroids. It's going to be really, really tough. So I wish them well. I'm sure you do too. And now back to Aggie Enterprise and why your role is so important. I hope that you can connect some of the dots. You know, we really, really need this robust enterprise system, which we just learned again is Aggie Enterprise, but also AKA Oracle. We need this. We absolutely do. After all, you know, we are one of the top universities in the world. And just to remind everybody, US rankings last year, top 10 public university for UC Davis. We also have now a $7 billion annual budget, and 1 billion of that is research. We have about 25,000 plus employees. We have about 38,000 students. We're big time. So we need this. Everybody on this call knows we granted a one-time extension. So our new go live date is January, a little less than a year from now. So January 1, 2024. And I'll just close by begging and pleading and saying, please, please, please just use this extra time. Maybe do some spring cleaning, indulge in your training, test. And, you know, in the end, it's going to be worth it. And so I really appreciate you and say thank you. So I'll stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Vice Chancellor Shinnerell. I must say, I appreciate that spring cleaning. There is much to be done around cleaning up our current account structures, all of the objects we need to convert. More to come. I won't assign any homework right now, but kind of keep that in the back of mind. How can we take advantage of spring to do some spring cleaning? All right, I now am happy to introduce I'm going to turn it over to our Aggie Enterprise Governance Co-Chair, Campus Controller, and Assistant Vice Chancellor of Finance, Matt Okamoto. That is a mouthful, quite a unique title. Matt joins us today to provide a refresher on kind of what is Aggie Enterprise to help level set for those that may be new to Aggie Enterprise and those that are frequent flyers. So Matt, I will turn screen share back on and let you take it away. There you are.
There I am. Thank you, Erica. The title is quite a mouthful. When I first came to
Matt, are you still there? Matt, your audio was perfect and now less than perfect, or at least it is for me.
I hope my opening didn't jinx your office there with
he thought uh-oh. Okay. Can you hear? Oh, can you hear me now? No.
Better. Keep going. Let's see. Well, Matt.
He might be on the Wi-Fi and USB, which is not that ideal.
Right. Give it another. Matt, are you there? We'll give it another minute.
Gonna need to.
Matt, I don't know if it'll help to take off your video.
How about now?
Beautiful.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a large meeting without a technology snafu.
Zoom was trying to tell me that it wasn't working, but it wouldn't actually let me do anything about it. But okay, I think I'm back on. So let's move forward, Erica. So I'm gonna take you through just a little bit of background, a refresh on Aggie Enterprise, tell you a little bit about what we've done so far and some of the things that are ahead of us. And you know, hopefully we will avoid stranding our users out in the departments with without any capabilities. We are definitely making sure that we want to move forward and get ahead of any issues. But on this page, what we're showing is the goals for Aggie Enterprise. And if you have attended, maybe the kickoff for the Change Network or other forums, you might have heard me talk about access to quality data. This has been something that has been very high on my list. When I first came to Davis in my role, I was surprised at just how hard it was to get good quality information out of our financial systems in a timely manner. And I'm the controller, right? I've got a team of accountants that work for me. And if I can't get good data out of the system, I know it's incredibly hard for the rest of you and the rest of our users around campus to get good quality data out of our system. So one of the things that Aggie Enterprise is going to help us with is that access to quality data. And with that data, we can make better, well-informed decisions. Because today, since we can't get good data, we're making decisions within the absence of data, and that's never a good thing. But it's more than just the system, and it's more than just access to that data. We're also taking a look at what our business processes are, and what are the opportunities to make them more efficient, more streamlined. And so we spend less time trying to generate that data and more time using that data, right? Analyzing it, again, making better decisions. And that's another key element of what we're trying to do here. It's not just a system implementation. We really are taking a look at all of our business processes and trying to understand how to make things more efficient, more effective across the campus. Oracle is going to help us do those things. Oracle is also going to do a lot of other things as well. Using the type of cloud-based technology that the system provides us, it'll make it much easier for us to upgrade and enhance our system over time. Our current financial system, Quali, had so many customizations built into it over the years that every time we wanted to improve the system, it took an incredible amount of time and an incredible amount of effort, because all of those customizations slowed down our ability to be able to make changes and improvements to the system. Oracle Cloud Financials is going to give us an ability to put in a system that will help us for the long term, a scalable system that'll be able to grow along with the university, adding new capabilities, enhancements, and making the user experience better over time. So who's impacted and in scope for Aggie Enterprise? As you all know, the Davis campus, and that includes the Alumni Association and the foundation, as well as our schools of health, the School of Medicine and the Betty Irene Moore School of Nursing within UC Davis Health, and our partners within A&R, who also use our current financial systems, will be coming along with us and taking part in the implementation with Oracle Cloud. Now, the UC Davis Medical Center is doing their own financial system implementation right now, simultaneously, and their system is Lawson-based. And so while they won't be using Oracle per se, there's going to be a lot of information passed in between Lawson and Oracle. And so the connection and the coordination between our system and their system is critical. So all of UC Davis Health, the schools, as well as the medical center, are aligned, and we're cooperating with our campus implementation of Aggie Enterprise. So at a very high level, I think many of you might have seen this slide before. This kind of shows what's included when we talk about Aggie Enterprise, right? It is, of course, the Oracle Cloud implementation of the financial system. You see that on the far right-hand side. But there is so much more to this project than just that. On the far left-hand side, you see the chart of accounts. As a part of our implementation of Aggie Enterprise, we are reimagining what the chart of accounts look like, redesigning our chart of accounts, and that work is being done in concert with our implementation of the UC Common Chart of Accounts. That's a requirement from the UC Office of the President to put it in a consistent chart of accounts that is consistent across all of the 10 campuses for the University of California. So as we are doing our Oracle Cloud implementation, we are also moving to the Common Chart of Accounts simultaneously with that. The Common Operating Fund Initiative is a project, and that actually completed during December of 21. We're simplifying our fund management structure, making it a lot easier to manage budgets and expenditures within our operating funds, to streamline and simplify that process. That third box around upstream and downstream systems, we call those boundary applications. Those are applications that feed information to and pull information from our financial system. So there are a lot of work that goes into place, making sure that those systems are ready to receive or transmit data into our new Oracle Cloud Financial System. And all of those things are helped coordinated through the top with our project management office, and across the bottom you see by our change management and communications team, training and communications team. So what have we accomplished so far? I'm not going to go through everything on this list, but you can see there is a lot that we have done, right? Of course, there's a lot of coordination that is happening between our project as well as the project that's happening at UC Davis Health. In the chart of accounts realm, you can see we've identified over 400,000 rows that needed analysis and mapping from our old chart of accounts into our new chart of accounts. I know we asked all of you out in the departments to do a lot of work in helping us with that mapping, and you came through. You can see we were almost over about 90% of the way done there, which is fantastic. But that is definitely a huge list. The change from our old chart of accounts to the UC common chart of accounts is a heavy lift, probably one of the biggest operational changes as a part of the project. We knew this was a lot of work, and you guys have really come through helping us out there. You can see the column around the Common Operating Fund Initiative, or COFFEE, the downstream and upstream systems. Over 300 were identified. You can see in that bottom box, we've got 86 planned to integrate within Aggie Enterprise. So a lot of work making sure that those systems are ready to go, because we want to make sure that information is working in both directions, up and down from the system, and doing it properly, so we're capturing all the key financial information that we need. And then on the project itself, you can see the different design workshops and the testing that was done. We've already held 2 testing cycles. During those testing cycles, almost 3,400 tests were performed with outstanding results, by the way. So we're making incredible progress. A lot of work has been done. There is still a lot of work ahead of us, though, before we hit January 1st of 24.
Matt, speaking of January 1 of 2024, Claire did allude to the one-time, and we'll repeat, underscore that one-time extension. Can you articulate some of the benefits of the extended project timeline?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, a little bit about why we decided to extend the schedule. So there was a few very key concerns that were raised. The first one you can see on this page around people readiness. There was concerns that we're just not going to be ready to use the system. So we can develop a fantastic financial system that is technically ready to go and is perfect. But if people aren't trained, if people don't know the new processes to use the system, if people haven't had experience using the system and know how to be productive from day one, that system implementation is a failure. Right? So we knew that people readiness is just as important as system readiness. And there was a concern that we weren't going to have enough time in our old schedule to make sure that people were ready to take advantage of all the capabilities of the new system. And one of the things contributing to that was the resource constraints. We knew that there was lots of overlap of activities for our subject matter experts. A lot of times when we looked at the elements of the projects and the things that we needed to get done, there would be a list. Here's a list of all these different things that need to happen. And the same people's names would show up on that list over and over again. And we knew that there was a lot of constraints on resources and that our staff was just getting spread way too thin. And then that last bullet around competing priorities. This was a big one when we think about the old schedule date, which was to go live on July 1st of 23. Well, that's right in the middle of fiscal close. And if you think about a financial system, the people that are going to be involved in implementing a new financial system, those are also the people that are involved in fiscal close activities. And so trying to close the book on a fiscal year, while at the same time implementing a new financial system, again, that was just going to be a huge constraint upon our resources, and something was going to break, right? So as we looked at all of those factors, we decided, yes, it makes sense to put in a 6 months extension, again, one time extension, to be able to address some of these concerns. So on the next page, this kind of talks about some of those benefits, right? Where there's benefits in people, process, and technology. Obviously, that gives us more time for our users to get a thorough experience and training so that they're productive from day one in our system. And one of the things that's going to help with that is they're not going to be busy trying to do close activities at the same time they're trying to do implement a new financial system. So we really think by building in the extra amount of time and how we're utilizing that time, we're going to give our user base, all of you, more opportunity to get familiar with the system, get trained on the system, so that when we do go live, you understand what needs to happen and you understand how to use the system. This also gives us more time to refine our processes, both around the chart of accounts and around our business processes, as well as make sure that the technology is ready to go. And make sure that it's stable, refined, it's operating the way we expect it to operate, and that all of the data that we need from the old system has been converted into the new system, so that's available for use as well. And so this, at a very high level, I'm not going to go through all the details on this chart, but this gives you an idea of where we are. We're right there in January. There is still a tremendous amount of work that needs to happen. You can see by all of the little dots and lines on the roadmap and milestones, the types of activities we have in front of us. A lot around testing. In sort of that middle of page where you see the SIT, the System Integration Testing 3, coming up starting in February, followed by Super User UAT, which is User Acceptance Testing, our regular user acceptance testing cycle. This is one of the key adds, that super user testing cycle. This again is going to give our super users, those of you who spend a lot of time in the system, the experts of our financial system, we want to give them time within the system during this super user cycle to really help us debug, but also get time in the system learning how to use it. And you can see this is happening, over 6 months in advance of when we go live next January. So we really wanted to make sure that we were building in time for our users to get experience in the system, utilizing that super user group to help us with that, and then utilizing those super users to help train the rest of our users out in the departments and get them familiar with the system as well. So again, by the time we hit January, the system is ready to go and our people are ready to go as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Matt. So as Matt shared with some of those metrics associated with Aggie Enterprise, a lot has been completed. We have hundreds, I think 320 plus hours that resources have spent collaborating to help design and configure Aggie Enterprise. We aren't done yet. You see on that timeline slide that there are many more activities planned in the future. We're going to use the latter part of this presentation to unpack some of these activities and really dive into kind of what does this look like over the coming year. But one of you did submit a question. What can I expect on January 1, 2024? And I think the best person to answer this is our Senior Project Manager for Aggie Enterprise, Jackie Velasquez. Jackie, so what can we expect on January 1 of 2024?
Well, most of you will be enjoying the new year on this Sunday with a warm cup of something, reminiscing about the past year, while deployment and cutover teams will be engaged in activities to prepare the new system and cut over existing systems that need to integrate. As a reminder, the Monday following is also a university holiday, the 2nd of January. So we will continue to use that time to refine and smoke test the solution. And on the 3rd and 4th, we're looking toward targeting our go live. So that's unofficial. I don't want you to quote me on that at this moment, but we really are looking for those 2 dates, really trying to use an opportunity to get as much people in that system early on and smoke test it we do want to decrease as amount of downtime as possible. In the next few weeks and months, we are working on our cutover planning that will include blackout and freeze dates for cutover. We will be sharing those soon. This is important for any operations, as well as period 6 processing of this year, or excuse me, of fiscal year 2024. And as the key points here, you will be transacting in Oracle when we do go live in the new common chart of accounts. For existing systems, we do plan on leaving those up in a read-only inquiry mode, such as Koali, Financials, and FISDS, and all the things will go live as much as possible. Still working with other vendors such as the UC Path Center on UC Path, SAP Concur for Aggie Expense, and other applications that do require some additional resources, third-party resources to get us ready.
Thanks, Jackie. I'm going to continue with that January 1 because it's a milestone day, even though there may be a day or so in there that are a holiday or two. But that January 1, 2024 is that goal for go live. Since you're on the line, I do have another question that I think you can help me answer. Can or will non-finance staff use Aggie Enterprise? Well,
currently we do have members of the community that can access, for example, FISDS, DS only access. All campus staff and faculty active can access Koali in inquiry mode. There are certain features they can use. Our security and controls team is working on provisioning and getting access. So there will be access inquiry. Still working through all people, but they will be sending out information on getting people to access that, the system.
Yes, we will address that. We do have that slated for later today. Perfect. Thank you, Jackie. Don't go away because I'm sure there are additional questions that I would love your assistance in answering. But do you want to thank you for taking those? Got a bit of a lag in my advance, so I apologize. Clear bit of a lag. There we go. All right. So as Matt shared kind of a high-level overview of what is in scope for Aggie Enterprise, I do want to take a few minutes to dive a bit deeper into the various work streams that actually make up Aggie Enterprise. You may have seen this slide before. Really, Aggie Enterprise can be broken down into kind of work streams or functional areas. So each of the kind of bluish colored boxes and then the yellow in the center represent functional areas addressed by Aggie Enterprise. We've also included the acronyms because sometimes you may hear those acronyms referenced in different spaces. We're working to become more consistent with our naming and more intuitive with our naming. So again, don't hold us to anything. There's always opportunities to change. For instance, this in the top, what is that left? Aggie Enterprise Planning. This was formerly referred to as EPM or Enterprise Performance Management. No more. We want to call this Aggie Enterprise Planning so that is a more intuitive name. Aggie Enterprise Planning is that Aggie budget replacement. And so as we've talked about, there are systems that will essentially go away when we move into Aggie Enterprise, and Aggie budget is one of those. You will start to do your planning in the Aggie Enterprise Planning module. Let's see, as we move kind of clockwise, we see the project portfolio management module. So that is that place, think projects, grants, and awards. This is the module where that type of activity will take place. And then, moving down, we've got record to report. Another term for that is really finance. So all things finance, cash management, the general ledger, accounts receivable, fixed assets. So those are all encompassed in kind of that record to report work stream. And then we have the procure to pay, also our supply chain management processes. So that's everything from how we buy to how we pay for things at UC Davis. And so there are a set of, business processes that land in that arena, and then that will be supported by that procure to pay module. In the center there, you see that chart of accounts. Matt spoke a little bit about the chart of accounts. The need to move to the common chart of accounts as mandated by UCOP. And there's a lot of activity underway today to get ready and get prepared for that. And then each of the functional areas are really supported by, as you see, Aggie Enterprise Governance and Project Management. So those individuals that are keeping us on track, on target, meeting our milestones. The governance is providing strategic guidance for the project. You see risk and controls. So those folks are really working on ensuring that we are creating secure systems and processes, and we are granting access, appropriate access to the appropriate individuals. We have our technology work stream, kind of throw everything into technology because it's all about the system, the integrations, our existing boundary applications, how we're converting our current data into the new system. We want to make sure that our data does convert correctly and that is valid. And so there's a work stream in place to support that. And then we have change management, communications, and training, because we are committed to helping provide you the information that you need so that you can be prepared to actively and successfully work in Aggie Enterprise. Advance. Again, want to take some time to answer your questions because it's most important that we use this town hall to provide information that you are interested in. And so, do you want to look again at these work streams? And we will focus our first set of questions on the chart of accounts. I just do want to give a disclaimer. There were lots of questions submitted. We won't be able to get to all of them. We're getting to as many as we possibly can. And then we are committed to following up with a communication that answers all of the questions that were submitted when you registered for this. So do be on the lookout for that. But I did want to provide that disclaimer. So as we look at the chart of accounts, I will welcome our Associate Controller and Aggie Enterprise Finance work stream, Mike LeGrand, who will help to answer a few of these questions. So Mike, the first one for you is, how is the account structure changing?
Well, besides everything from our current KFS chart of account structure to the OP mandated common chart of accounts, I think there's a couple areas we wanted to highlight of how the chart of account changes. First one, you will notice that there's several more segments that we have in today's KFS world with the common chart of accounts. But each segment has fewer segments or fewer values, and there was a clearer and more definitive definition of how to use each of the different segments. And it's the combination of all those segments together gives us our story about what each of the financial transactions are going to be in the future. I think Matt kind of mentioned somewhere about we had 400,000 KFS FAUs, full accounting units, to go through and map to this common chart of accounts. Using this matrix style type of a chart of accounts, it's the combination of those segments that gives us those 400,000 different types of activities that we're tracking today. That allows us to use more common values. So, for an example, several departments, when we looked at our review, have certain accounts set up to track their instructional computer replacement programs. That is going to be used as a common value that we can attach to all sorts of different departments, funds that are funding for that, and different entities. So A&R could track it, campus could track it, our schools of health can track that, and every department within and the college could track that. And by using that one value, we can grab and report on that type of activity across a department, a college, or the entire entity. So that matrix style really gives us a lot more robust reporting. And then what also builds on that robust reporting is the hierarchies. So using the same hierarchy for all departments, for all colleges, for all activities and all natural accounts for the different types of expenditures we're doing, allows for more robust reporting and ability to track and provide the higher level data that Matt mentioned too in the beginning as well. Another thing about the hierarchies, in KFS, we have an organizational hierarchy, and we can transact on any of the levels between 4 to 12. In Oracle, in our chart of accounts, everything gets transacted at the lowest level. And the hierarchy trees are built for all summarization reporting. And then I think one of the other biggest changes that's going to be happening here is that the fact that the general ledger in Oracle and in Aggie Enterprise is general. It's more of a summary ledger. We're going to be leveraging sub-accounting or sub-ledger accounting to maintain and control and report on a lot of the minutia level of details. And the summary level activities go into the general ledger. Today in KFS, our general ledger is an all-encompassing general ledger, sub-ledger, and we do a lot of transactional level reporting out of our general ledger. This creates a large number of additional transactions that will be held in the sub-ledgers in the future. So this will allow us to do quicker summarized reporting and be able to produce financial information at a quicker pace with the summarized general ledger. But I think one of the biggest things we look at in our financial future is that every little business process that we do today that on the decentralized system we have today may not be able to be addressed in the general ledger and the core chart of accounts. Some of that activity and ability to report is going to have to come from our sub-ledgers. So we cannot make a decision and make a segment for every single thing that we may have tracked in the past. And this is where that business transformation comes around. So the chart of accounts is just the baseline of the system. It's also the baseline of how we have to do business transformations going forward. But remembering that when we make these decisions about what we can put in the chart of accounts, you know, we have to keep in mind what are the business responsibilities, what are our reporting requirements, are we meeting UCOP requirements, campus requirements, and leadership requirements. So we are doing our best to address all the different questions and issues on the chart of accounts.
Thanks, Mike. Kind of following that theme that Claire presented about spring cleaning, this question was submitted. Why are we being asked to reduce the number of accounts and sub-accounts that we have?
Well, as Matt mentioned, we had over 400,000 accounts with activity in it on an annual basis today. And we generate and create about 1,500 new ones every month. So this perpetuating growing number of KFS accounts and just makes it more difficult to report on their information. A large number of these accounts have very, very small balances that have been sitting there for years. You know, during this conversion and review of these accounts, I've come across accounts that had converted data from DAFIS, which was, I believe, in 15 years ago, and has never been touched for the 15 years or so we've been on KFS. So this perpetuating, leaving small balances and continuing to carry forward things slows down our systems, slows down our reporting. And so this is that spring cleaning. If they, you know, as we're looking at this mapping exercise of multiple KFS accounts are going to be mapped in the very similar way in Aggie Enterprise through our chart of accounts mapping, those are areas where we could clean up accounts, close out accounts, transfer the balances, and summarize and make the close a little bit easier. And then also, I think we're going back to the benefits of the chart of accounts. Using that matrix style, you know, if we have a department that has instructional salaries and departmental research salaries, we have to create two different KFS accounts just to change the higher education function code on this. In the future, we only need the one department code on the same fund, and you just put the different higher education function code or the purpose codes in the future into the different financial transactions. So you put a funding entry into 4.0 for instruction and 4.4 for research. And we're able to use all the rest of the same segments in the exact same way, and just change the color of money for our OP or NACUBA reporting as well. So our functional expenses could change without having to change any other segments within the new chart of accounts.
All right, one more question for you, Mike. Prior to the one-time extension, everything was aligned at July 1, and now, so what happens here? When do we start transacting using that new chart of accounts?
Well, transacting at the local level will continue in KFS. So our KFS structure will not be changing until we go live. As Jackie indicated on that January 1st, middle of bowl games. When we're in us in the background, we'll be flipping this system over. So when we go live in January, we will start transacting locally in the new common chart of accounts in the new Aggie Enterprise system. Until that day, all our boundary systems and direct entry into KFS will continue to be using our current KFS FAU structure. So that our KFS chart of accounts, our KFS structure, and our KFS system will continue to operate as is until we change over in January of 2024. So what does this mean for reporting? OP has been clear that they will not extend the implementation date of the common chart of accounts to all 10 campuses. So what we will be doing, my team and our business systems teams are translating every transaction that we do into KFS today and how we normally submit that to the Office of the President. We are translating that into the new common chart of accounts file structures that we have to submit, starting with the July close of 2023. So that beginning of that fiscal year, we will be doing all the additional work in the background to translate and account for everything in the new common chart of account structure and submit all the information to Office of the President. This also has other reporting, so our financial aid reporting, our budget reporting, our contracts and grants reporting that other offices also do will also need to be updated, and those are more quarterly reportings. So not only are we just doing the financial systems, but OP is replacing pretty much every system that they transact with right now to an Oracle product, and all of them will only be using the common chart of accounts starting in July of 2023. So this additional layer of work to for this one-time 6 months extension will allow us to maintain that and meet that deadline by OP, and allow us to give us the time to build into additional business processes and continue to work on KFS for an extra 6 months.
All right. Thanks so much, Mike, for your time. I know that there's a lot of work going on with the chart of accounts, and so I appreciate you helping to answer some of these questions. So just to recap, those of you that use KFS today will continue to transact in KFS using our current FAU up until December 31, 2023. UCOP is still requiring that UC Davis report on our new chart of accounts as of July 1, 2023. So again, what does that mean? Our central teams are going to work behind the scenes to translate that current FAU to the new COA so that we can report to UCOP the way that they need us to report. As you can imagine, that bridge is a big lift for our central teams. And so that translation is really only intended as a very short-term bridge because it's both complex and costly. And so that chart of accounts stabilization really does remain a priority. We want to make that effort to translate to meet those reporting requirements as least complex as possible. So lots of information about the chart of accounts. Just want to take a moment to highlight some of the great resources that are out there for you to take advantage of, to learn more about what does that new UC Davis chart of accounts look like and how it will work. So we will be sharing this after the fact, and I know the link is dropped in chat as well. You can find videos, quick reference guides, a crosswalk of today's FAU to the new chart, and links to the chart of accounts e-learning courses are all published. Take advantage of this information because it really does start to help to build the foundation about how does our new chart work, and then you'll start to understand how does that chart actually work in the new Aggie Enterprise system. Okay, moving on, we will switch gears to a new work stream. There were some questions that were submitted in that procure to pay space. Another term for that is supply chain management. And I do have Eddie Montez joining us from supply chain to answer a couple of your questions. So Eddie, this person understands that Aggie Buy is going away with Aggie Enterprise. However, will Aggie Buy be available for a duration of time for research and troubleshooting after go live?
Yes, it will. Yes, we are working with our vendor, which is Jagger, for our Aggie Buy, to ensure that we have at least 6 months after go live to be able to look at orders, invoices, anything that we might have received during the time that Aggie Buy was our book of record. So we'll be having that for sure, and I think that will be very beneficial for both campus and also for our central unit, because we're definitely going to need a lot of that time to make sure we have all that historical data.
Thanks, Eddie. One more for you about Aggie Buy. Will the Aggie Buy orders convert to Aggie Enterprise?
We will also, but there's a little bit of a caveat on this one. So hopefully there's a little bit of an understanding how some of this works in current state. When you create an order in Aggie Buy, that order does make it into KFS and it creates a purchase order document, right? So what we will do is we will be converting purchase orders, open purchase orders, to make it clear, any open purchase orders that were initiated 2 years prior to go live. So that puts us in January 1st, 2022. So if you initiated an order January 1st, 2022, and you still have an open line on that order, we will be converting that to Oracle. So on day one, you'll be able to see that in there. In Oracle, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking the record from the KFS order, and we will be assigning it the Aggie Buy PO number, which all of you might know as those starting with UCDAB, and that will be your PO when you start in Oracle. So definitely converting them, and hopefully anything that is open will be there day one.
Much appreciated, Eddie. I have no doubt there are so many more questions out there about what the future in the procure to pay space looks like. And we'll share some more information later about how you can learn more. But I do want to switch gears to the next kind of work stream space, jumping into kind of all things technology, integrations, boundary applications, reporting, all that good stuff. Likely, many of you are interested in this question. How is Aggie Enterprise going to communicate with UC Path? This one, Jackie, I think I'll give to you.
Similar to what we do today, there's a bi-directional feed. We send our account attributes to UC Path, which is PeopleSoft Human Capital Management, that's used on funding entry, where you put in the distributions for your cost centers. So we have refactored that, and we have been testing that. We've tested that in SIT2, and we will continue to have an extract from UC Path into the Oracle PPM subledger for sponsored projects, and for everything else will go into the general ledger. So that we did a refactor in that, and we will be testing the general or the labor ledger in SIT3. So we will be testing that interface starting February 6th.
Thanks, Jackie. I think it's important to reemphasize that UC Path stays. It is our system of record for human resource information. Aggie Enterprise comes in that financial space. Another question for you. Reporting is a hot topic. We received a lot of questions that just said reporting ? This one gave a little bit more and says, how does reporting compare with FISDS? Are there corresponding reports similar to the FISDS 1 or FISDS 2?
Everyone loves FIS 1 and 2, I will say. It's our most highly used reports. So when we were initiating the project, we did an analysis of reporting, and we put into scope development of reports that we would need for sustainment. We created a similar report as the FISDS 2 because Oracle has canned reports that already do some of the reporting that we do. One of the reasons why we did select Oracle was because of all the baked in reporting, trial balances, profit and loss statements that are already there, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So a lot of these things are in there. We look forward to feedback during our acceptance testing. You know, when you build systems such as ERPs, reporting is a never-ending process. We always create new ones, add new ones, and so always looking for feedback in this space. And more reporting demos are going to be scheduled as we move through the next several months.
Thanks so much, Jackie. Yes, we're just working on a few minor validations before we get that first reporting demo scheduled. We do know that it is high priority, and so we want to get that on the calendar as soon as possible. Definitely more information as soon as we're ready. We will invite all to attend. And I cannot probably commit that there will be more than one reporting demo because there is such general interest. Now I want to kind of switch gears to really all of the focus on 2023. So we've talked a bit about what we've done. We've answered some of your questions. We'll continue to answer some more, but I really want to focus on how you all here, 485 of you, I see some folks are dropping off at the turn of the hour. We were up to 497 at one point, but talking more about how you will be engaged and how you can expect to participate in this initiative. So we kind of bucket that into four themes, I'll say. So people readiness. Matt talked a little bit about how people readiness is integral to the success of Aggie Enterprise. So what can we do to ensure that we are sharing information and we are hearing information from you and we are answering your questions. So people readiness continues to be a big theme. We'll also focus on testing. So there is that system integration testing. Matt talked a little bit about super user acceptance testing, and then there's user acceptance testing. So I'll dive a bit into each of those spaces to tell you a little bit more about what you can expect. Also, roles and access. As we have today, people have roles in our provision in KFS. KFS is a unique system. Aggie Enterprise will be a unique system. There will be roles and access in that space. They likely won't be the same because both systems, I'll throw out that word again, are unique. They are not the same. And then I'll go into training, kind of what you can expect, because that's another hot topic that we hear quite a bit about. Focusing on people readiness. Project success is people dependent. That installation contribution, well, that's the system. That's the system that's designed and configured. We need that adoption contribution. So that big blue portion. We need folks to adopt the system and processes, know how to effectively and efficiently use that system and its processes to call Aggie Enterprise a success. We know Aggie Enterprise impacts many people. It is a complex change, and so we need to do all we can to help support readiness. Part of the ways in which we're doing that are through formal engagement groups. You can see here we've got, 6 formal engagement groups. Governance, diverse representation from leadership that really provide that strategic guidance to the project. We have the advisory board. So there's at least one representative from every school, college, or unit. That team, the advisory board, meets once a month. They are providing that continuous feedback and communications about decisions that are pending. They're also providing strategic guidance. They're bringing back information they're hearing from their resources. Again, also serving as change champions for Aggie Enterprise. Probably our largest body of engagement groups comes with the Change Network. There's over 400 members that are part of the Change Network. That Change Network meets monthly. We do our best to share some of the changes that are coming, provide you tools, resources so that you can cascade communications within your organization. There is always opportunities to join the Change Network. You can also, if you love to watch a Zoom meeting, you can watch a recording of the last year, maybe year and a half's Change Network meetings. Does provide a good orientation and context for what to expect with Aggie Enterprise. And we have our subject matter experts. So we have tapped folks across the organization on the shoulder and said, hey, can you provide some of your expertise, your business expertise from your school unit or college? Those folks are also engaged. We have a super user group. So there's 120 participants that are, actually I think it's 135 now, super users who are, I think Matt alluded to, really those folks that are financial experts on campus, learning all about Aggie Enterprise and how to use it. And then we have our testers. So I will dive into testing in a future section, but we've got our testers, those folks that are in the system, figuring out, does it work as we want it to? And all of this helps to support kind of people readiness. If I added up everybody that was participating in different aspects I don't know if I can count that high. Hundreds and hundreds of folks have been engaged, but we also know that there's more work to do. I did receive this question because super users are a new concept for Aggie Enterprise. Can you tell me more about the super user group? And for that, I will invite Aggie Enterprise Academic Liaison, Emily Sanson-Smith, to help provide some more information about the super users.
Great, thank you, Erica. I think we can go to the next slide. Thanks. So we launched the super user program back in November of 2022 with a group of people who are really considered go-to resources, as Erica and Matt had mentioned. And that's both through their strong understanding of the financial processes in their units, as well as, they're recognized for their ability to communicate change and teach others. And the strategy behind the super user group is really to build foundational knowledge through early exposure to the system, and also to create a cohort of experts who can support other users in learning and adopting Aggie Enterprise. We can go to the next slide. So we were fortunate, as Erica mentioned, to be able to appoint 135 super users to this cohort. And we have representation from all of the schools and colleges and the major administrative units. And the super users are assigned to a specific work stream. So either procurement, PPM, or the general ledger. And then there are some people that are actually participating in multiple work streams. And over the last couple of months, they've been engaged in hands-on activities in Oracle. And that includes logging into the system and sort of navigating around, as well as replicating actual processes like creating purchase requisitions or managing a PPM project or creating a GL journal to transfer revenue. Our final hands-on session is actually tomorrow. And with that, the super users will have logged over 1,200 hours of exposure to the system. So we feel like that's a really great milestone. These hands-on sessions were designed to prepare the super users to really be able to absorb that formal training content that's going to be launched later this year. And then the super users are also going to be engaged in a round of user acceptance testing in the spring and summer. I think Matt and Erica both mentioned that. We can go to the next slide. So I do want to take this time to really thank the super users who've participated in the hands-on sessions so far. I know it's a really significant time commitment, and we had a lot of really great engagement from that group. So it's such an important cohort because they really represent the first effort at widely sharing the system across all of our major end user units. And they have already raised a lot of questions and suggestions around our system functionality and the business processes that we will be able to incorporate into training materials and our other future state communications. So really important feedback there. As I mentioned, they're going to be key in performing an early round of user acceptance testing. That's prior to the wider rollout of user acceptance testing that will come in the fall. And then they're going to be crucial partners in helping to roll out training and really just supporting those other users in their units as those folks learn and adopt the system. So again, just thank you to those super user participants and everybody in their units who I know had to support them when they were taking that time to do these hands-on sessions. I really think the investment is going to pay off in the end through better training materials, clearer business processes, and really just better prepared users overall. So appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Emily. I do see that Alicia dropped into chat a link to the super user webpage. So for those of you that are like, oh, I didn't know I had a super user representative, you can, find out who that person is. Become their friend. They will be a resource to you once we're live in Aggie Enterprise and before. Oh, excuse me. Okay, this was a question. I think I'll take this one. We hear this a lot. Seeing the system will help us with readiness. When can we see Aggie Enterprise? I know you want a sandbox. You want a chance to get your hands in there and play around. Just not there. There is no sandbox for Aggie Enterprise, so we're going to do the best that we can. Immediately, we will start to provide demonstrations. So starting in January, there will be a monthly Aggie Enterprise demo. We'll have different topics every month. These are open to all with interest in the topic, but of course, if one topic resonates because that's really what you do, we do hope you join those demos. We will cover topics such as purchasing, fixed assets. We talked about reporting. There's going to be UC Path funding entry. How do I do some things? What does that look like? And the demos really are guided by our workstream leads or a co-lead, showing you how things are done in the system. So you will get exposure to the look and feel of both the system and the business processes. With that, I just want to do some promotion of the upcoming demos. So first, here on Tuesday, January 31, Supply Chain will be providing a demonstration of the purchasing and accounts payable processes in Aggie Enterprise. And so you can see the time for that. And I do believe the link will be dropped in chat if you want to get that added to your calendar. All of the demonstrations will be recorded and we will host on the website so that if you aren't able to make it, you can still click in and get a better understanding for that look and feel of Aggie Enterprise. Following the supply chain one, we will have a fixed assets demonstration. So an overview of that fixed assets subledger and asset management in Aggie Enterprise. That will be February 13th from 1 to 2. You can register for that. The link will be dropped into chat. Again, intended for those that are engaged in asset management today, but all who have curiosity maybe about asset management, or just want to, again, see that system are welcome to join in that space. We'll continue to promote the demos often. So I hope that you don't miss them. So again, more actions that you can take to really support people readiness. I do want you to share information you hear today. Nothing is a secret. We want you to talk about Aggie Enterprise. Love it, have questions about it, a little scared of it. That's okay. The more you talk, the more questions you can ask of it and the more information we can provide back to you. Also an opportunity for you to connect with your unit's Change Network member or super user member. We encourage you to do that outreach, make those connections, ask their perspective, ask questions of them. Those folks are also conduits back to our internal project team members. And so that's kind of that feedback loop. What you're communicating with those representatives gets back to us, and we know that we need to do more to communicate in that space. Again, to help prepare for readiness, attend the demos, attend future town hall meetings, submit your questions, and we will get those answered for you. So people readiness was first. The second theme for 2023 is testing. Jackie, do you want to take the testing slide?
Of course I do.
I thought you might.
We have a third SIT systems integration testing cycle, which is scheduled to start on February 6th. We're still preparing for SIT 3. We'll have a decision on the 3rd of February if we're going to move forward with that date. That testing cycle is going to be a little bit more lengthier. It's going to be 8 weeks. Our prior two SIT cycles were 6 weeks. Then, as Matt mentioned, as part of our project extension, we added an additional super user acceptance testing cycle. And that's going to last 3 months, almost 12 weeks. And that due to the overlapping time frame of year-end close activities in which most of those folks involved in SUAT are also involved in close activities. Gives an opportunity for these people to understand the system and provide assistance to folks in their units. And then September this year, we are doing our formal UAT environment acceptance testing, user acceptance testing. We hope to have a lot of folks in there looking at the strategy of onboarding folks. It does require input from units, and the security and controls team will elaborate more on that. So by the end of October, we're hoping to get sign off on acceptance to move forward with our deployment and cutover strategies. During can you go back for just a second? During the SUAT and UAT, we will do dress rehearsal of our cutover strategy as well. So the activities to get us to go live, we will be practicing those in those two instances as well, the test cycles as well.
I can take this one. Jackie talked a little bit about user acceptance testing. This will be the opportunity that we welcome all who are interested to really serve as testers. And so you can express your interest in participating as a user acceptance testing tester by completing this form below. Again, it will be time consuming, and so it's something that you do want to check and discuss with your manager and supervisor before perhaps you express interest. But we are collecting names, collecting that inventory. So far, we've got a roster, I want to say maybe 50, maybe 75. I'm losing count. Again, welcome all, complete the form. There will be more formal communications around what to expect in UAT, probably closer to the June timeline. But we are, again, if you are interested in serving as a tester, please do submit your interest. All right. Roles and access. So I invite our risks and security, risk and controls lead, Lisa Montesanto, to share more about roles and access in Aggie Enterprise.
Thank you, Erica. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Lisa Montesanto. It's a delight to see so many of you. Thank you for attending this town hall. As Erica mentioned, I am the controls lead for the finance team, and I've been serving as the risk and controls lead for the Aggie Enterprise Initiative. And I'm just going to say a few brief words about security access or user access in the Aggie Enterprise Oracle Cloud system, and then give you a sense of what you can expect in the coming weeks and months. So you can progress to the next slide. Thank you. So as in many systems within Oracle, the ability to access certain modules or areas in the system or to take certain actions is delineated with the coding and called a privilege. Privilege in the system gives a user who has that privilege or someone who has that role to take certain actions or access certain areas. And our Deloitte partners have created UC Davis custom roles that group privileges into our custom roles in a manner that will bundle them so that Erica had a great phrase. It was something like, so that people can actively and successfully work in Aggie Enterprise. You need those roles provisioned, that's the word we use, provisioned to you as users so that you can do your day-to-day work. Let's go to the next slide. What we envision and what we plan in order to get those users and roles connected and provisioned in the system is a structure similar to the UC Pass Security Liaison structure. We don't have the word yet for the Aggie Enterprise Liaisons. I've been calling them approved requesters. That's so clumsy. I know we'll come up with something better. But where we have a liaison or two or four for each division that will communicate with the provisioning team on behalf of users in that division, what security roles are needed for those individuals to do their jobs. And they'll be using a template request form to communicate with the provisioning team. That template format allows the provisioning team to most efficiently and effectively get those roles provisioned in a semi-automatic way in the system. And let's go to the next and last slide. So our goal is to complete our user to role mapping by July 15th of 2023. And in order to get that started, in the next few weeks, we'll be meeting with a few volunteer divisions that have worked closely with the Aggie Enterprise team already to kind of practice our communication tool set to make sure that when we go out to all the rest of the divisions to get this done, we're as effective and clear in our communications as possible. But what you can expect is that we will be providing for each division some information about the roles and what they are able to do. And then we're designing a packet of information that will model some suggested provisioning. And the way that we've created those for each division is to take some data on KFS users and the activities that they perform in the system, and then translated that into the roles that those same users, if they were doing similar activities in the new system, would need to have. And then we'll be asking each liaison, if you will, to review those and then get back to the provisioning team with any changes or additions that need to be made from what we've suggested based on the KFSN information. So I'm looking forward to partnering with those of you who will represent your units to get everybody in the whole UC Davis community the access that they need for go live.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Lots more to come as we start to talk about what does that mean to identify users and their role provisioning. So I look forward to partnering with you on that, Lisa. Let's see, second only to reporting, which is everyone's right now #1 favorite topic, is training. When can we be trained? Let me first provide a little bit of an orientation or an overview of, what is planned for training. We are planning e-learning modules. So those kind of self-paced foundational learning opportunities where you get orientation to Aggie Enterprise, to the modules, the subledgers, and the workflows. And so you've seen or been exposed to e-learning via the chart of accounts courses that are out there. And then we are continuing to develop additional e-learning courses for each of the work streams that you saw in a previous slide. E-learning is really kind of that foundation building. We're looking some of the topics that are in e-learning that we're considering are, that we're actively working on, a training module for general navigation. Really, this is, how do I do anything in Aggie Enterprise? How do I move around? What do I click on? So there'll be training provided in that space. In accounts receivable, you can expect an introduction to billing and accounts receivable in Oracle Cloud Financials. Again, foundation setting, or perhaps purchasing. There is a course underway, almost done, getting started with purchasing, followed by additional courses, catalog purchasing, non-catalog purchasing. So you can expect really the foundational learning opportunities in these different workspaces. And then we'll build upon that with instructor-led classes. Those are more of lab classes, likely going to be primarily virtual because that's what our workforce is looking like, but we're also exploring what it means to be in person to provide instructor-led classes. These will be more guided, task-based training. So builds on those foundational concepts you learned in the e-learning, but then there's going to be, again, task-oriented. How do I do this? How do I complete this transaction in the system? And you'll be able to practice exercises in the training environment. I know I told you there wasn't a sandbox. There is not a sandbox for everybody to play in, but there is a training environment where folks that are actively engaged in instructor-led training will be able to complete exercises in that space. Round that out with a robust resource library. We know that some people really just want to go back and say, I just need one page of instructions. And so we want to provide those to you. We want to provide you a step-by-step guide, quick reference guides, what have you, that are just quick, down and dirty. You can find out, how do I do this? And you can find those steps. Again, I talked about training, number 2 asked question, but when will we be trained? When can I expect training? And this is where it's not always the answer that people want to hear, because there is a fine line. If I can get my screen to advance, I will show you the timeline for that. Okay, so we know that based on those that went before us, you can't train too early because you risk both retention loss of the material that you've learned. And we also know that our system is not 100% ready yet. So if we trained you today on a system that's not ready, you don't know how to use the system of tomorrow. So there's a fine line about when we can provide training. That all said and done, Oracle end user training will be launched late summer. So in that, beginning of August, that provides 5 solid months of training so that as of January 1, or whenever you come back from winter holiday, you have the knowledge, skills, and ability to be able to effectively use Aggie Enterprise. Will it be bumpy? For certain, it's a new space, change is hard, we know that, but we want to do what we can over the course of those 5 months to ensure that you have what you need to be successful in that space. We do have a chart of accounts instructor supported that's planned to go here later in the spring. That builds upon the e-learning courses that were delivered. The chart of accounts instructor supported includes scenarios, really getting your hands into how do you use that new chart of accounts. And then again, Oracle end user training comes in that August, really beginning of August, end of July, beginning of August, to give us 5 months to prepare. Let's see, I want to move on to talk a little bit about the training support that's around. There's, the formal training modules, but then it's what support do I have access to? Emily talked about the super users. Those are our frontline resources. We want to get them to be experts in Aggie Enterprise so that they can help support folks in their units, both in training and then after go live with how to use it. Again, that robust resource library, instructional videos, instructional guides, microlearning videos, maybe the e-module is broken down into segments so you can just click into what you want to know. We'll also implement an office hours to get live person assistance. And so there'll be more information to come as we launch training and have an office hours to support training. But we also know that training does not end after we go live. Oracle is here to stay, Aggie Enterprise is here to stay, so training is here to stay. In perpetuity, you will have access to these resources as well as a dynamic knowledge base. It will start off small, but that knowledge base will continue to be built so that there is some self-service assistance that you can have access to. You have readily accessible answers to your questions. Also, similar to today, there will be a help desk where you can get assistance with both system challenges, process challenges, what have you. There will be a help desk put into place to provide some of that assistance. Want to talk a little bit about what you can do in that training space to help build some of those foundations. I talked about the e-learning available for the chart of accounts, the 2 courses getting started and then putting it all together. Last numbers I think I saw were upwards of 2,000 folks have completed those 2 classes. That's fantastic. Feel free to drop back in. Maybe you don't remember what you learned. Hop back in that space in advance of the chart of accounts advanced instructor supported training launch, just so you are able to kind of pick up where you left off. Also encourage the links that have been dropped into chat, really lead you back to different resources that have been developed, the website. Dig into those materials. Highlight questions that you have and circle back with the project team. There's a lot of great information out there. And so really trying to take advantage of what's been provided, as well as highlight where there's gaps. If there's something that you think would be helpful, we want to know so that we can develop that. And then, as I mentioned, March 2023 will be the next really formal training opportunity with that chart of accounts, instructor supported training coming out. And then we will see that formal Aggie Enterprise Oracle end user training in summer of 2023. With 5 minutes to spare, Alicia, I apologize for putting the rush on you, but I will introduce our Aggie Enterprise Change Practitioner, Alicia Weber, to highlight the resources available to you.
Thanks, Erica. All right, so we know we've covered a lot of materials today. Every time we talk about Aggie Enterprise, more questions come up, and we really want to encourage you to dig deeper into the resources that are available. And also, as Erica said, let us know if there's gaps. We are always creating new resources, new materials, and we want those to be meaningful for you. So if we can go to the next slide, I want to take a moment just to orient you to what's out there today. So we have our Aggie Enterprise website. We continually update that space. It has pages around the chart of accounts, that project portfolio management or PPM work stream and module. You can find Change Network and super user information there, as well as a growing list of frequently asked questions. There's been great activity in chat, so those FAQs are going to continue to grow. We also have our video library that includes a series of micro videos around the chart of accounts. Each of these is under 10 minutes and gives you an opportunity to hear more about the project, as well as a walkthrough of the new segments of the chart of accounts. And you'll find last year's town hall in that space as well. And then our resource library has quick reference guides and handouts that give you at a glance details about particular topics. We're continuing to develop more of those and roll those out. You'll also find the project glossary. So we know that there's a lot of jargon and terminology around any new change, any new system. And so we continue to build that glossary so that you can learn the language of Aggie Enterprise and Oracle. And then also there's a preparing for Oracle checklist. This includes some core finance and budget courses that you might consider taking, as well as some Excel classes to really lay a foundation to prepare you for the future and the additional training we'll be offering. And there's also some cleanup activities. So when we talk about that spring cleaning, there's some suggestions in there and information on how you might approach that. Next slide. And so next steps, Erica said, this is not a secret. We want you to share this information with your teams. Please do bring back any questions that you have. You can reach us through aggieNenterprise@ucdavis.edu. We'll encourage you to explore those resources, bookmark the website, review that preparing for Oracle checklist, attend our upcoming demos, and connect with your Change Network and super user members in your units. Those are going to be your great point people as we move forward in the project. And lastly, I will just let you know how to reach us and how to stay up to date. So as I said, the website continues to be updated. We also release monthly articles in the spreadsheet newsletter. So we want to invite you to subscribe to that. And aggieNenterprise@ucdavis.edu is a direct line to the project team. So if you have a question or a resource you'd like to see us develop, please use that email address to let us know.
Thank you so much, Alicia. And we are right at time. I do want to thank all 497, 98 maybe that logged in today. I'm just scanning chat. Lots of great questions. We know that the devil is in the details, and people are starting to ask questions about exactly how things will work. We hope to use the demos as the first place to start to address some of that. A town hall, it's a little too deep in the weeds for everybody that comes into a town hall, so we really want to leverage demos and testing to answer some of those questions. But as far as all the questions that were asked today, we will be composing those into a document with corresponding answers and sharing that. So I want to thank you all. We will be back quarterly for Aggie Enterprise Town Halls. Again, just thank you for your engagement and participation through the past year and moving forward. All right. I will stop the recording.